Time has not been kind to these celebrities. There can be no disputing an obvious fact. Plastic surgery has its limits, and time does many things to your looks as you get older. Just take a good look at the faces of some older celebrities these days, and you'll understand that time has not been kind to them. Mickey Rourke. This guy was once a very handsome dude, but these days he looks like a much older and less attractive version of his former self. He still has a full head of hair, though, but that doesn't count for anything when you look at what Father Time has done to his face. Pamela Anderson. This once beautiful woman was the very epitome of style and beauty, but that was a very long time ago. These days, it appears all the Botox injections, plastic surgery, and stuff has caught up with her. She looks much different now, and that's putting it lightly. The truth is, she looks older and less attractive than she did in her much younger days. Goldie Hawn. Every star has his day. Now, we can modify this statement and use the feminine gender because every female actress has her day. This is perfectly applicable to Goldie Hawn. Plastic surgery helped her in the past, but now it's clear that she's paying a very high price for all those cosmetic procedures. There's a lesson here her daughter Kate Hudson should learn from her mother's experience. No point in having your face look like Goldie Hawn's if you can help it. Brendan Frazier. It's hard to believe that this dude was once a very handsome heartthrob in his heyday. These days, it's clear that time has not been kind to him. He's put on a lot of weight and his face looks quite different. The only advantage is that nobody can recognize him these days. This means he can go anywhere without having to worry about fans and the press. Jack Nicholson. This guy had loads of charisma, star quality, and a huge presence way back when. These days, all these things seem to have disappeared. He's put on weight and he's lost most of his mojo, but he can simply live on past glories if he wants to. Donatella Versace. She inherited a huge fashion empire, and she's continued to run this empire to the best of her ability. However, her looks have been as good as they used to be, and that's putting it lightly. She has sunken eyes, and her lips look kind of abnormal, but she still has her name, and she still has her fashion empire. Well, that's to count for something. Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp didn't do himself any favors with his wild ways and self-destructive behavior. There is one reason many people are not quite surprised that he now looks like a shadow of his former self. There's a huge lesson here for people who want to learn. Treat your body well when you're young, and when you're old, you'll still look great. Keith Richards. Sir Keith Richards has been on the celebrity scene for almost forever. This is why people who don't know the man expect to see a senior citizen. However, Keith Richards' present looks don't depict a senior citizen. He looks like a man who's no longer part of humanity, but he's still very much alive for all that. Matthew Perry. Even at his peak, this guy was not the most handsome dude in the celebrity world. This is why nobody expected him to look super good for life. However, good old Matthew Perry looks like an ordinary old dude these days. Not too bad, all considered, but a better face in his old age might have helped his cause. Meg Ryan. For a middle-aged lady, Meg Ryan is doing okay. However, she's no longer a diva. Very few people will describe her as one of the sexiest women alive these days. Still, some of her looks are still there, and she comes across as a less beautiful version of her former self. Now, that's not too bad. Macaulay Culkin. It's hard to believe that this old man in this photo is the adorable boy who played a leading role in the movie Home Alone. Now, this is what time does to you. You think you'll be young and handsome forever, but time creeps up on you, and before you know it, you're an old has-been. Lil Kim. Very few people will call her Lil Kim these days for the simple reason that she's no longer little. The once slim and cute singer has put on a lot of weight, and her dark skin looks kind of bleached, but we can't be sure of that. The thing is, she hasn't aged very well, and some of her former fans can't be blamed if they don't recognize her these days. Russell Crowe. Take a good look at this recent photo of Russell Crowe and try not to laugh. At first glance, one would think the man has something against shaving razors. Or maybe he's trying very hard to grow dreadlocks in his beard. Anyway, the truth is that Mr. Crowe has seen better days. He looks old, and more to the point, he doesn't seem to pay much attention to his personal appearance. Steven Seagal. This all-action dude was all the rave in the movie industry some years ago. These days, it's clear that time has not been too kind to him. He might still have all that stamina and martial arts skills. The truth is that his face makes a powerful statement. So does his dressing these days. Clearly, Steven Seagal has seen better days, and some folks are suggesting this dude should retire to Minnesota. Madonna. This top singer has seen it all and done it all. For a very long time, she looked much younger than her actual age. Madonna was very busy eating, drinking, and partying, and doing many other things in between. After about 6 decades on planet Earth, Madonna still doesn't look as young as she did in the past, but this is to be expected. Mick Jagger. One thing you can say about Mick Jagger is that he still has a full head of hair. Considering that the old dude has been rocking and rolling for over 6 decades, we expect a bit of wear and tear here and there. However, the current Mick Jagger looks like a retired old man and not at all like a celebrity big-name music star. Sylvester Stallone. The one and only Sylvester Stallone has been around for a very long time. For some time, he was the epitome of health and longevity, but those days are long gone. These days, he looks like an old man who took plenty of anabolic steroids in his youth. The truth is that steroids come with a price, and it looks like Stallone is paying a very high price for all the steroids he took in his heyday. LaToya Jackson. Some people have this view that if you are not a big-name celebrity in your prime, time might be kinder to you as you age. If this theory is true, then it definitely applies to LaToya Jackson. Unlike Michael and her other more popular siblings, LaToya seems to have aged gracefully. Maybe the reason is that she didn't get involved with too many cosmetic procedures in her much younger days. Chevy Chase. If you run into Chevy Chase these days, you might be forgiven if you call him Chubby Chase. This dude has put on so much weight that it's hard to explain how he did it within such a relatively short time. Maybe he stopped exercising, or maybe the guy simply loves food. Either way, Chevy Chase looks completely different these days. Kate Moss. A top model should always look great, because looking good is part of the model's reason for existence. Apparently, Kate Moss doesn't quite subscribe to this, and this photo says it all. In this photo, her eyeliner's all wrong, and there are obvious wrinkles on her face that weren't there before. The point is that everybody gets older, and as they do, they look less glamorous, including the inimitable Kate Moss. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Making an unlikely career move from top actor to governor of California takes some doing. This is what the one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger did, and this is why he looks quite different these days. Apparently, the demands of high office have taken their toll on his looks. So is time, because the great bodybuilder is no longer as young as he used to be. Lindsay Lohan. She was a sweet child actress in her much younger days, but that was a long time ago. These days, Lindsay Lohan looks quite different. First off, her skin doesn't look great, and her eyes make it clear that she probably doesn't sleep too well. The bleached hair is not too good for her either. All told, we have the distinct impression that Lindsay Lohan has not aged well. Al Pacino. The iconic Al Pacino spent many years acting the role of a mean mobster. Now, in his old age, he looks just like one. In his much younger days, Al Pacino was handsome in that classic Latino way. These days, he still looks good, but he kinda looks like an old mobster. Might not be a bad idea to give the great man one final role as a mafia boss, because he looks like one these days. Kelly McGillis. In the movie world, the normal course of action for most actors and actresses is to go for cosmetic procedures and try to turn back the hands of time. One actress who doesn't seem to care about plastic surgery and Botox is Kelly McGillis. She was a young temptress in her much younger days. These days, she's content to live her life like a dignified senior citizen. She's embraced the aging process, and she's happy to look and act her age. Very wise woman, if you ask me. Demi Moore. Back in the 1980s, Demi Moore was a beautiful woman with a mane of thick, dark hair. She was in the news back then for all the right reasons. These days, it appears she did a few cosmetic procedures and she looks quite different. Time seems to have been unkind to the once beautiful and sexy Demi Moore. Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus was a very beautiful girl way back when. All the guys who mattered back then were keen on getting close to her, and she was immensely popular. These days, she looks quite different and nothing like her former self. Boy George. If you were old enough to listen to music in the 1980s, you must have heard about Boy George and the Culture Club. Boy George was one of the most iconic dudes of that era. These days, he's much older and sports a clean-shaven head. Leonardo DiCaprio. Just watch the award-winning Titanic, and you'll understand why the one and only Leonardo DiCaprio was such a huge star back then. These days, he's put on a bit of weight, he has a receding hairline, and he looks much older than he did a while back. However, he still has those piercing blue eyes, and that's part of his identity. Robert Redford. This guy was a heartthrob back in the day. These days, he seems covered in wrinkles and skin is almost red. Maybe the name Redford had something to do with his reddish skin. Salma Hayek. She's definitely one of the most beautiful women in the world, and she never seems to change. Apart from a few pounds in the right places and a slightly older face, time has been very kind to Salma Hayek.